Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Israel launches large-scale operation as Gaza conflict drags on. US announces new sanctions on settlers over West Bank violence. With tensions high in West Asia, UN extends Lebanon peacekeeping forces mandate in favor of stability and a ceasefire. Typhoon Shanshan slams into southern Japan, triggers flooding and landslides, thousands evacuated. Japan issues highest level warning for wind and storm surges ahead. Heavy rains continue to batter Indian state of Gujarat. Relief and rescue operation on war footing across the state. Incessant rains pound Delhi and nearby regions. India celebrates National Sports Day today to mark the birth anniversary of Wizard of Hockey, Major Shanshan. Israel launched a large-scale operation on Wednesday in the West Bank as the nearly 11-month-old Gaza war showed no signs of abating. The Israeli military said its forces killed 9 terrorists, while the Palestinian Health Ministry reported 11 deaths in the West Bank. Earlier on Wednesday, Israel launched coordinated raids across 4 northern West Bank cities, Jenin, Nablus, Tubas and Tulkarem, where the military has focused much of its recent operations. Violence also raged in the Gaza Strip, where Israeli strikes killed a significant Palestinian terrorist. In the West Bank, Tulkarem Governor Mustafa Taka said that the raids were a dangerous signal and unprecedented. The military carries out daily raids in the West Bank, occupied by Israel since 1967, but it is rare for these to happen in multiple cities simultaneously. But according to military spokesman Nadav Shoshani, Wednesday's operation was not extremely different from regular activity. Meanwhile, Washington on Wednesday announced sanctions on an Israeli settler group. The State Department said it was involved in violence against Palestinians and the forced displacement of some 250 villagers earlier this year. Netanyahu's office said he viewed the new sanctions with utmost severity. The sanctions froze the U.S. assets of those targeted, denying them access, and generally bars Americans from dealing with them. The sanctions will be imposed under an executive order on West Bank violence that President Joe Biden signed in February. It has been used to impose sanctions on a Palestinian terrorist group, as well as Jewish settlers and those supporting them. The United Nations World Food Programme temporarily suspended movement of its employees across the Gaza Strip on Wednesday. The step was taken after bullets struck one of its clearly marked vehicles as it approached an Israeli military checkpoint. A convoy of 2 armored vehicles received multiple clearances by Israeli authorities to approach the Wadi Gaza Bridge checkpoint on Tuesday evening. Bullets hit one of the vehicles, but no one was hurt. The Israeli military did not immediately respond to a request for comment about the incident. It said the vehicle was a few meters from the Israeli checkpoint when it was hit. UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric said that the UN has long complained of obstacles to getting aid into Gaza amid total lawlessness in the enclave.
We continue to press for accountability. I think after this conflict is over, and we hope it's over much sooner than later, there will need to be accountability. There will be boards of inquiry to look at the destruction of UN property, the death of UN personnel, notably our security colleague. So we continue to press for accountability, but our concern right now is twofold: is to deliver as much humanitarian aid as possible and to keep the humanitarian workers safe while they do that work.
A protest organized by Hostages Families Forum in Tel Aviv led a convoy of cars lined up on the road displaying the signs demanding action for the release of hostages on Wednesday. Now, these cars were damaged during the events of October 7th and now serve as stark reminders during the demonstration. The convoy continued to Kibbutz Be'eri, where it was greeted by people waving Israeli and yellow flags. More than 250 Israelis and foreigners were taken hostage in the attack, in which some 1,200 people were killed.
There's an obstacle. Once time it's called Rafah, now it's called the Philadelphia Corridor, and God help us, there'll be more in the future. We need this to end. After 327 days, everyone needs to come out. We all understand to make this happen, we need a ceasefire in order to bring everybody out. That is our demand as the families. We're now again going off to Gaza to bring our voice to the public.
I'm not doing anything else right now. My life just stopped on October 7th. You can't really go on with your life after such a horrible thing happened. So after October 7th, the only thing I do is to fight for the life of my cousin and all the other hostages.
The United Nations Security Council has unanimously voted to extend a long-running peacekeeping mission in Lebanon for another year, but the United States said that changes should be made to the operation's mandate in the future. The UN Interim Force in Lebanon, UNIFIL, was published in 1978, which patrols Lebanon's southern border with Israel. The mandate for the operation is renewed annually, and its current authorization was due to expire on August 31st. UNIFIL's mandate was expanded in 2006 when the Council adopted Resolution 1701 following a month-long war between Israel and Hezbollah to allow peacekeepers to help the Lebanese army keep parts of the south free of weapons or armed personnel other than those of the Lebanese state. Deputy U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Robert Wood, told the Council that extending UNIFIL's mandate is now more important than ever.
More immediately, extending UNIFIL's mandate, which this resolution does, supports our goal of regional de-escalation, which is now more important than ever. We do not want to see conflicts intensify and spread, and most importantly, the people of the region do not want that either. Specifically, UNIFIL plays an important role in monitoring activity along the Blue Line and promoting stability. And it supports local communities by facilitating humanitarian access and providing much-needed resources and training. UNIFIL's liaison capabilities also are integral in mitigating the risk of miscalculation and preventing further escalation.
The U.S. Supreme Court declined on Wednesday to revive President Joe Biden's student debt relief plan, giving a boost to Republican-led states that have sued to block it. The justices rejected the administration's request to temporarily lift a judicial decision that paused the plan, which is designed to lower monthly payments for millions of borrowers and speed up loan forgiveness for some. The White House in August 2023 launched a policy called Saving on a Valuable Education, or SAVE plan, which it touted as the most affordable repayment plan ever created. The plan would cut monthly college undergraduate loan payments from 10% to 5% of a borrower's discretionary income, which would save the typical borrower around $1,000 a year, according to the White House. The European Union's 27 foreign ministers will meet in Brussels to discuss possible increasing support to Ukraine and lifting restrictions on where and how Kyiv's forces can use the Western weaponry. The ministers will be joined by their Ukrainian and Turkish counterparts for the EU's first foreign ministers meeting in months. Alex Kadia gets us more from Brussels.
Well, this meeting will be the first opportunity for those EU foreign ministers to come together for the first time since their summer break and react to some of the big events going on around the world, chief among which will be Ukraine. Dmytro Kuleba, the Ukrainian foreign minister, will be here in Brussels meeting with his European counterparts, making the case for some of the restrictions on the weapons that they have given to Ukraine to be lifted, allowing Ukraine to hit deeper into Russian territory, hitting military targets rockets which have otherwise been used to hit Ukrainian lands and Ukrainian territory. That will be one of the big practical questions faced by those foreign ministers in this meeting. Also on the agenda will be the Turkish foreign minister, the first time a Turkish foreign minister has attended one of these meetings in 5 years, perhaps a sign of a warming between the two sides, but certainly they will be discussing diplomatic relations between Brussels and Ankara, so something to look for there as well. But central, of course, that Ukrainian question, both because Russia has been pummeling civilian infrastructure in Ukraine and because Ukraine's incursion in the Russian Kursk region continues. It has slowed, but it continues, so there will be a lot of questions around the logistics, the diplomacy and the support offered by Europe to Ukraine. Further afield, they will look at the irregularities in the Venezuelan election. That will be a big consideration and concern for those foreign ministers brought together, and of course the situation in the Middle East between Israel and Hezbollah, that escalating situation with those hundreds of missiles fired across the border into Israel and with Israeli retaliation. The fear of escalation in that region still very real here in Europe, so certainly a lot for these foreign ministers to look into at this meeting. Alex Cadier in Brussels reporting for DD India.
Top officials from the US say that there is direct potential for direct talks between Chinese President Xi Jinping and President Joe Biden soon. US officials have been in Beijing meeting their counterparts to discuss a range of issues, including potential flashpoints in the South China Sea. Caroline Malone gets us more from Washington.
The White House's top national security advisor, Jake Sullivan, is in Beijing this week, and along with China's top diplomat, Wang Yi, have agreed their Indo-Pacific regional military commanders will hold video calls at a, quote, appropriate time, according to a readout from China. There's the risk of unintended escalation in the South China Sea as Washington and Manila hold a mutual defence treaty. Chinese and Filipino vessels have clashed in recent months. Well, Wang reportedly told Sullivan that the US should also stop arming Taiwan and support peaceful reunification, with China seeing the self-ruled island as its own. It also expressed disapproval of US tariffs and export controls on Chinese goods, including chip makers. Well, the White House said after the talks, two sides held candid, substantive and constructive discussions on a range of bilateral, regional and global issues. And that included North Korea, Myanmar and the Middle East. But significantly, there's also an opportunity for fresh meetings, with China and the US planning a call between their leaders in the coming weeks, according to the White House. Caroline Malone in Washington for DD India.
Telegram boss and founder Pavel Durov has been placed under formal investigation in France as part of a probe into organized crime on the messaging app. Durov has not been remanded in custody but placed under judicial supervision and has to pay over $5 million as deposit. He was charged on several counts of failing to curb extremist and illegal content on the popular messaging app following a hearing with investigating magistrates in Paris. In France, being put under formal investigation does not imply guilt or necessarily result in a trial, but indicates that judges consider there is enough of a case to proceed with an investigation. Major typhoon Shanshan has made landfall on Japan's main southern island of Kyushu on Thursday morning. Officials say this could be one of the strongest storms ever to hit the region. Also, some residents in the path of Typhoon Shanshan have been ordered to evacuate, and major firms like Toyota closed their factories. Airlines and rail operators have cancelled some services for the upcoming days. The typhoon is categorized as very strong in Kyushu. The southwestern region of Japan is on high alert as the meteorological agency has issued an emergency warning saying the typhoon could bring flooding, landslides and winds strong enough to knock down some houses. Rain and strong winds were witnessed in Fukuoka City as Typhoon Shanshan made landfall this morning, with authorities advising thousands of people to evacuate and issuing the highest warning level for wind and storm surges. The storm is expected to approach central and eastern regions, including the capital Tokyo, over the weekend. On the opening night of the Venice Film Festival, Hollywood actress Sigourney Weaver received the Golden Lion for Lifetime Achievement. Known for her work in the film franchises like Alien, Ghostbusters and Avatar, Weaver was cheered by fans and media as she walked on the red carpet right after the award ceremony. The 74-year-old actress was emotional as she was honored at the festival, and she said that she was humbled by the festival's recognition. You're watching DD India Live. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, the Election Commission of India to issue notification for the second phase of Jammu and Kashmir assembly polls. Marking a significant advancement in India's naval capabilities, Defence Minister to dedicate INS Arighat to the nation. The 18th edition of Paris Paralympics Summer Games finally kicks off with over 4,400 athletes set to participate in the event. Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India Live. Let's get to updates on the heavy rainfall in the Indian state of Gujarat. Heavy rain continued to lash in parts of Gujarat on Wednesday, worsening the flood-like situation in Vadodara. More than 5,000 people were rehabilitated and over 12,000 people were rescued till Wednesday. 6 contingents of army have been deployed to assist the 14 NDRF and 22 SDRF teams deployed for rescue and relief work in the state. Red alert has been issued for districts in Saurashtra and South Gujarat. Many rivers like Vishwamitri, Ambika, Purna and Mahi have overflown, causing flooding in low-lying areas. Heavy rains have resulted in blocking a few national highways, state road transport and delay in trains. Machu Dam of Morbi overflowed in the midst of continuous heavy rains in Gujarat for the last several days. The water-affected rainfall line, in fact railway line near Morbi-Kutch National Highway is also heavily damaged along with the railway route and railway tracks. Delhi NCR also received incessant rainfall accompanied by thunderstorms and lightning in the early hours on Thursday. The rain resulted in severe waterlogging and traffic congestion in several parts of Delhi. Waterlogging in the area has slowed down the traffic. Commuters were seen wading through the flooded roads with vehicles struggling to cross the roads. Additionally, the Indian Meteorological Department said that August this year is also one of the wettest months for the national capital, with a record 291.6 millimeters of rainfall received so far. The Election Commission of India is to issue notification for the second phase of Jammu and Kashmir assembly polls, in which constituencies of central Kashmir districts including Srinagar, Budgam and Gandarbal and constituencies of Rajouri, Riyasi and Poonch districts will be going for the polls on September 25th. The notification for the third phase will be issued on September 5th and polling for this phase will be held on October 1st. Counting of votes will take place on October 4th. Around 280 nomination papers were filed across 24 assembly constituencies in Jammu and Kashmir for the first phase. The 17th India-Israel Foreign Office consultations were held in New Delhi on 28th of August. Reflecting on the strength of India-Israel strategic partnership, both sides discussed various issues of bilateral interest in depth and reviewed the entire gamut of bilateral endeavors. The two sides also shared views on the prevailing situation in West Asia and Indo-Pacific. Reiterating India's strong and unequivocal condemnation of the October 7 terror attacks on Israel, the Foreign Secretary called for unconditional and immediate release of all hostages, ceasefire, the need for continued humanitarian assistance and adherence to international humanitarian law. The Foreign Secretary also shared India's concerns at the escalating situation in West Asia and emphasized restraint, dialogue and diplomacy. A quick look at other stories making it to the headlines from across India now. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will dedicate second nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarine INS Arighat to the nation today at Visakhapatnam, Andhra Pradesh. INS Arighat is an upgraded version of INS Arihant, India's first nuclear submarine. The development marks a significant advancement in India's naval capabilities, particularly concerning its strategic nuclear deterrence. Indian Army recovered 6 Chinese grenades from Dachi forest in Poonch, Jammu Kashmir. Search operation is still underway. According to officials, the grenades were recovered during an army operation in the Shindara sector of Poonch. The National Security Guard commandos carried out series of counter-terrorist mock drills at multiple locations in Himachal Pradesh. The location included vulnerable and key targets in Kasol and Manali. The mock drills primarily focused on rehearsing and executing counter-terror, hostage rescue operations and counter-IED operations in an urban scenario. Nvidia reported results for the quarter gone by after the bell on Wednesday, and while they were mostly ahead of expectations, the company's guidance for the upcoming quarter left the street wanting for more. Revenue grew 122% during the quarter to $30 billion in the quarter, which ended on July 28. Analysts were working with an estimate of $28.9 billion. Earnings per share, excluding certain items, stood at $0.68, marginally higher than the $0.64 estimate. The focus has now shifted to Nvidia's next big offering, the next generation AI chip called Blackwell. There have been delays in the manufacturing of the chip, but the management is confident of shipping them in the next quarter. On to sports now. The much-awaited Paris Paralympics Summer Games finally kicked off on Wednesday night after the success of Paris Olympic Games. The 18th edition of these games will be continued till 8th of September. The Paralympics opening ceremony took place at the Champs-Élysées and Place de la Concorde, both historic venues and among the biggest tourist attractions in the city of Paris. Over 4,400 athletes are set to take part in course for the next 11 days, competing for 549 medals across 22 sports. The Organizing Committee of Paris 2024 has said that just over 2 million tickets have been sold for the Paralympics. India's javelin thrower Sumit Antil and shot putter Bhagyashree Jadhav were flag bearers for the Indian contingent for the ceremony. This year, the Indian contingent is having 179 members with 84 athletes competing in 12 sports. This is the largest contingent India has ever sent to the Paralympics. Meanwhile, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi extended his heartfelt wishes to the para-athletes participating in the Paris Paralympics. He said, and I quote him, 140 crore Indians wish our contingent at the Paris Paralympics 2024 the very best. Courage and determination of every athlete are a source of inspiration for the entire nation. Everyone is rooting for their success. Cheer for Bharat. India is celebrating its National Sports Day in honor of Major Dhyanchand, the legendary hockey player whose unparalleled skills made him a global icon in the sport. Also known as Hockey Wizard, his legacy extends far beyond India, earning him admiration and respect across the world for his extraordinary techniques on the field. Here's a tribute to the global icon. Take a watch.
आज सौभाग्य की बात है कि हमारे स्टूडियो में मौजूद हैं मेजर ध्यानचंद।
फॉरेन कंट्री जो हॉकी सीखी है उसमें शक नहीं है कि हिंदुस्तान के जरिए सीखी है। उन लोगों ने इतनी ज़्यादा प्रैक्टिस कर ली कि हम अब हिंदुस्तान का मुकाबला करने लगे। मैंने देखा है रिसेंटली यूरोप कंट्री के खेलों को कि वो हमारे मुकाबले में थोड़ा ड्रिबलिंग करने लगे हैं बजाय मारने के। अब ड्रिबलिंग ही शुरू कर दिया।
जी हाँ, काफ़ी इम्प्रूवमेंट्स हैं उनके।
It's the army, British Army, for entertainment and recreation. They used to play the sport of hockey. That's how modern hockey came into India. So somehow Dhyanchand got into that hockey team. When he played, he was supposed to play against his bosses, colonels and all other people. So his first aim is not to hurt them.
ध्यानचंद के बारे में कहा जाता था कि वो बिल्कुल चेस की तरह हॉकी के मैदान को देखते थे। उनको पता होता था कि उनका खिलाड़ी किस जगह पर है और वो ब्लाइंड फोल्ड अगर आप उनकी आंखों पर पट्टी भी बांध दें तो वो एक ऐसी जगह पास करते थे जहां खिलाड़ी मौजूद, बिल्कुल पिन पॉइंट उसी जगह पर गेंद रुकती थी। तो ये प्रेसिशन था।
When he played in America, they thought probably there was some magic in his hockey stick, and they even changed his sticks.
What Dhyanchand's was playing in his times was nothing but what we are playing nowadays.
Magic man, like Don Bradman in cricket, hockey was in his blood, hockey was in his thought, hockey was in his action.
People say he had some electric power. No, he visualized you should not hold the ball.
Much before Sachin Tendulkar, Roger Federer, Michael Jordan, Senna, Muhammad Ali, Pele, there was Dhyanchand's.
All right, that's it in this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. Now, this app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.